Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about the CSS and as well as the HTML. In short, we are going to build the sign up form using CSS and as well as the HTML. So the first video will focus mainly on the HTML, and then after that the second video will mainly focus on the CSS, which is the cascading style sheet. So now to start, we would define first, or we have to understand first what HTML is. So now when we talk about HTML, we mean the hypertext markup language, and this is the backbone of all the web pages that we have or that we see on the internet there. So now for us to build the sign up form, we need to have the HTML first. Okay, so now how are we going to do that now? Of course, we need to create the project on the screen there. The project is the one that is going to collect the CSS and as well as the HTML files. So now what is the name of the project that we are going to create right now? We are going to create the project named as a project underscore Rockview. You can name it whichever way you want to name it. There's no problem. Okay, so I'm going to right click on the screen. Then after that I'm going to place new, and of course I'll create the new folder, which is the Rockview underscore project. Okay, Rockview underscore project. This is my project here. Rockview underscore project. Okay, Rockview underscore project. Okay, this is it. This is my project. Okay, Rockview underscore project. Okay, so that is now the project folder that I have. So which means all the files that are needed in my project, they'll be placed in the in the Rockview underscore project there. Okay, they'll be placed in that folder. So we'll start with the sign up form. Okay, we'll start with the sign up form, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before you think of start writing the code, you need to make sure that you have the Visual Studio Code installed in your computer. It is going to do what to help you. This is going to act as the code editor. In fact, it's the code editor that is going to allow you to write the codes for HTML, ladies and gentlemen, because we are going to start with the HTML, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so we are going to open this Rockview underscore project. After opening this Rockview underscore project, we need to right click this blank part of this project and select open with code. You are opening that with Visual Studio with Visual Studio Code, ladies and gentlemen. You are opening that with Visual Studio Code. Okay, I'm sure we are very much together on this part. Okay, you're opening that with Visual Studio Code, ladies and gentlemen. This is the name of the folder, the one that you created on the screen there, and it is given as, or it's named as Rockview underscore screen, ladies and gentlemen. Release notes, you just have to cancel this. You even cancel the welcome here, there's no problem. Okay, so now we have got this one, Rockview underscore project there. Okay, so now you have got this one, the first icon there, and that is new file. If at all you want to create the new file, you create the new file from there. You have got this one, new folder. If you want to create the sub folder within that Rockview underscore project, you create that from there. Okay, just like that. You refresh them, then you collapse folders in the Explorer in case you have got different open folders and you want to go back to the default. Then you do what? You collapse all the folders, then you start opening one by one again, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that is good. Okay, so now what are we going to do now? After opening this Visual Studio Code interface here, we need to start what? To start coding right now. So now how are we going to start what? To start coding, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, how are we going to start coding, ladies and gentlemen? So we need to create one file for the what? For the sign up HTML, and one file for the CSS. Of course, for the cascading style sheet. Of course, we need to open those files. So the first file that we are going to create is the signup.html, and of course you click on the first icon that reflects after, you understand, after hovering this site. Of course you do this, you follow this pointer here. After hovering here, it is going to give you what these buttons. Those buttons will reflect or will pop up, understand, simply showing that in this environment what you can do is creating these files, so whether collapsing and as well as refreshing the Explorer there, just like that. Okay, so now we have got this part, which is the first one, which is the new file there. What are you going to do on the new file there? You click there and you're going to give, you understand, the name of the file that you're going to create. The first as the HTML, understand, file with the .html extension. So you're going to say sign up. Okay, sign up.html like this, sign up.html. You hit enter there. Okay, you have sign up.html. Then you close this, there's no problem. Then we create a style now .css, style.css. Okay, style.css like this. Then you hit enter there. Okay, just like that. Okay, so now since we are starting with the HTML here, we need to start coding now. Now in the HTML we have got this, or rather in Visual Studio Code we have got this command that we use to bring the structure of the HTML here. Okay, the structure of what, of the HTML here. So how do we do that? We hold shift key, then we place one button there, one button like that. It is going to bring that factorial. Of course that one is the one that is going to do what, to allow us to bring the HTML structure there just after one click. Okay, so now after doing this, we need to click, you understand, enter button here. We need to click enter button like that. Now after clicking enter button, it is going to do what, to display something like this, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, it is going to display something like this. Okay, so now what are you going to do after this? Now of course you need to go back to what, to your you need to go back to your what, to your project here. Okay, project directory. Okay, and this is what we have Rockview underscore project. We have got sign up that we created in the Visual Studio Code. Then we also have got the style that we created in the what, in the Visual Studio Code there. Okay, just like that. Okay, so now let us try to double click on this sign up. We see what it's going to give us. Now if you look at on this, now on this one, you are able to see what, to see the title of the document as what, as document. That's not the default title there. Now we do not want that default title, ladies and gentlemen. What are we going to do? We need to change what, to change this title, ladies and gentlemen. Now before you change the title, ladies and gentlemen, there is something that you need to know. This Visual Studio Code must be set to auto save, so that whatever you write, whatever you code must be saved automatically, ladies and gentlemen, must be saved automatically. So what are you going to do right now? You are going to do what, to locate or to find file on the top tabs there. So you click on that file, then down here you'll find the autosave. If it is not checked, you have to make sure that you click in order for you to do what, to check it, to avoid refreshing if each and every time you write any code there. So you just have to continue on writing the code. Say it's self, it is going to do what, to save that automatically, just like that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so now on the title document here, let us try to change this one. We put what, we put sign up, ladies and gentlemen, sign up like this, sign up form. Okay, sign up form like that. Okay, sign up form. Okay, that is good. Okay, then after that we need to do what, to go back to the browser and refresh this to see if the changes has been, understand, applied. Okay, this is the change that we have, which is sign up what, sign up form. Okay, we are ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now since that we are done with this structure now here, we need to put something that is going to reflect on what that is going to reflect on the what, on the browser there. We need to put something that is going to reflect on that, on the browser, ladies and gentlemen. Now when you look at this part is what is going to do what, that's where now everything that has to be or that we need to put inside the body, that's where now it has to do to be displayed now here in the body part, the white part, the white, understand, part, this part, or the white part, or this white part. That's where now we are going to do what, we are going to put something there on the Visual Studio Code. Now, where do we put it? We put it inside the body. Whatever we put inside the body is the one that appears and reflects on the on the web browser there, just after running there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, good. So what are we going to do right now? Since we have the structure, what are we going to do? Remember, today we are dealing with with the HTML only, or rather not today, but in this video we're just talking about HTML structure only here. Okay, HTML. Okay, so now after that, let us try to do to write something that is going to to reflect on the student portal, something that we need to see on the student portal, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so how are we going to do? Allow me to comment here. Okay, here it is going to be HTML. Okay, structure starts here. Okay, HTML structure starts here. Okay, that is good. HTML structure starts here. Okay, so now what are we going to put now down there? We need to put the container now there. We need to put the container, ladies and gentlemen. We need to put the container. This container is the main box or card that holds everything. We give it a class so we can store it in CSS. We are going to give it a class so that we store it in the CSS, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to do this dot sign up. Okay, sign up container, then we hit like this. Okay, so now we are going to give it this class, because this is the one that is going to allow us to do to design it in the CSS, or using CSS just like that. Okay, it is going to do to allow us to to design it, or we give it a class so we can store it in CSS, ladies and gentlemen there. Okay, that is good. Then after creating this what is this? After creating that container there, we need to put the title. We need to put the title, ladies and gentlemen. We need to do to put a title there. Okay, so now what title are we going to put, and which element are we going to use? We'll use H2 element there. Okay, so then we're going to say create account. Okay, we're going to say create an account. Okay, we are going to say create an account there. Okay, then after that, after creating an account, we need to do to put the form action. We need to put the form action, and as well as the method to post form action, and as well as the method to post there. So now the wrapper for this inputs method posting is the standard secure way to send sensitive data like passwords to a server. Okay, to a server. So what are we going to do right now? We're going to say form like this. Then here it is going to be method. Then we use we use post there. Okay, so now post is the standard or rather method post is the standard secure way to send sensitive data like passwords to a server. Okay, and as well as the action hash is a placeholder for where the data will be sent later, like a PHP or Node script there, .js script there. Okay, so now on the action there, if we have what is this, a sign up.php, the one that handles data submission, then whatever we are going to do just after clicking the sign up button, so the data will be will be sent to the databases using the sign up.php, the one that we are going to put here. For example, we say sign up.php if at all it exists on this on this left side panel there. Okay, so now right now we are just dealing with we're just dealing with the HTML, so we do not have to do to put that ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we don't want to submit any data right now. Those videos will come later. Okay, that is good. Then after that we are going to do we are going to to add the form group we are going to add the what? The form, group. Of course, we need to do what? To divide these, forms into, parts. For example, we have got, the form group for the username, the form group for the email, the form group for the what? For the password. So we need to do what? We need to design, these, or to separate these. Okay, we need to separate these. So what you're going to do right now, after that, we need to do what? To introduce or to put in form what? Form group like this. Form group, then you hit enter there. Okay, so now in that first form group there, what are we going to put there? Okay, of course there we need to put what? To put, the username, ladies and gentlemen. We need to put the what? The username. Okay, so how are we going to put, the username? Now remember, before you sign in into any system, there is an indicator indicating that, or there is something that shows that here you're supposed to do what? To put the username. Here you're supposed to put what? To put the what? The password there. Okay, just like that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now before that, we need to refresh where we have reached here. Okay, I think we need to see, the results in the what? In the browser here. So now if we refresh like this, it is going to give us what? Create what? Create an account there. Okay, we have that. Okay, that is good. We have that, and that is good. Okay, then what are we going to put there? We'll put, the what? The label, ladies and gentlemen. The label. The form must be what? Must have, the labels now. If you are putting, the username, it must indicate username. Then after username, there must be an input field after the username. Just, like that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so now label for, we're going to put username, and of course here you need to put what? To put username there. Username like that. Okay, so we are done with that. So now if we refresh the browser here, you will find that we have got what? We have got, the username there. The field username, but we don't have the input field where you need to put what? To put, the data there, just, like that. Or to put your name, you don't have the what? That field. So now let's create the same what? The same field, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to say input. We are going to say input type text, then ID username, then name. Okay, remember this is the one that we use in the database. Now whatever we are going to put here, it is what is going to be used in the what? In the database there. So we are going to put the username here, username. Then here we are going to say placeholder. You are going to say enter. Username here, username like this. Okay, and then this field must be required. So before submitting the data, this form has to make sure that this field, it is what? It is in a field up. There's something before submitting to the what? To the databases. So we need to do what? To put, the required there, the validation there. Okay, good. Now if we refresh it like this, we're going to have what? To have this there. Okay, if we hit enter, you will see, please fill out this what? This field, ladies and gentlemen. So we have got the first input, field there. Okay, we have, the first input field. Remember, we are defining the username, the email, and as well as what? As well as the password. Now, the way we design these is like this. If this is already given, the codes, okay, if it's already given the codes, we're just going to copy these codes and paste 3 times down. Then we change the label, the label names. We do not want to use different, classes. You understand? We don't want to have a lot of what? A lot of, codes here. Understand? We don't want to have a lot of codes to simple thing like this. Okay. So we're going to copy this and what? And paste it down here. Another one down there. Okay. So you have got 3, 1, 2. Then 3 there. Okay, now how do we format this? Remember, this is disorganized right now. How do we format this? So we're going to right click like this, then we go to format HTML document here, format. So it's now formatted right now. Okay, just like this. Okay, this is good. Now if you refresh it here, you will find that you have got 1, 2, 3 username, and this is the repetition. So we need to do what? To replace this. Where there is username, we put email. Where there is the last username, we put what? We put the password there, just like that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, then what are we going to do right now? We need to change now this one must be changed to the email. We need to put an email there. Okay, so how are we going to do that? So we are going to introduce the multiple case, understand, ways of renaming documents if it has got similar parts. So if you look at this one is similar to this, and to this. So what are we going to do? We will introduce the multiple cases. So you do this, you hold alternative key, Alt key on your keyboard, then you make use of this, a pointer, and start clicking in front of the username, each username in this form group. So you do this, you do this, you do this, you have that one, then you go backspace. You see, it's erasing backspace. So you're going to put what? To put the email here, email like that. Okay. And then here, since it's the one that is going to reflect there, you're going to put what? To put a capital E there. It's one that is going to be reflect on the what? On the browser there to the user. Okay. Email like that. Okay. That is good. Okay. Then what about the input type there? Input type, it's supposed to be email here. Okay. Email there. We need to enter the valid email there. Okay. You need to enter the what? The valid email. If we refresh this, you find that here this field, it is what? It is changed to what? To email there. Okay, that is good. Now if you start typing here, okay, it is going to do what? Please, you see, please include an at in the email address. Blah 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 is missing an at there. Why? It is because of what? Because of this data type, the one that we've done what? That we've put here. This data type, or rather not data type, the input type here, the one that we've put, which is the email there, just like that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have to make sure that we enter the right data in the what? In the database. So we submit the right data in the what? In the database, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so we go to form group, the last form group here. What are we putting there? We are putting the password, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll do the same as usual. Okay, we hold, or we long press, or we hold the Alt key, then we start removing this, and of course there we are going to put what? Put the password there. We're going to put the password like that. Okay, of course even on this one here, since it's the one that is going to appear on the browser there, we put capital P. Then on this one we are going to put a password like that. Password like that. Okay, we put password like that. Okay, so now let's refresh here. We refresh it here. Okay, good, that is good. So now on this one password, if you start typing here, you see it has introduced what? These dots. Why? It is because of what? Because of the password. What? Password, you understand, input type there. Just here like that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, then after that we need to do what? To put the pattern down here. So after this form field, we need to put what? To put the button there. Okay, so we're going to say button type. Okay, button type. What should be the button type? Of course, the button will be used to submit data in the what? In the database. Of course, the type must be what? Must be submit, and we must also add the class. We must also add the what? The class here. Okay, we must also add the class, and what will be the class name? So the class name of this button, it is submit btn. Okay, submit btn like this. Submit btn. Then the name of the button itself should be what? Should be sign up like that. Okay, sign up. Okay, sign up like that. Sign up like that. Then let's try to refresh it like this. Okay, that is good. So you have that. Okay, you have that. Okay, that is good. Okay, that is good. Okay, remember adding this word inside the input, or adding required word, or this word inside the input field, or rather input tag, stops the user from submitting the form. If the box is empty, the browser handles that automatically, just like that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, this is very, very much simple and straightforward, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so this is the part of the HTML that you do that you need to do to know, ladies and gentlemen, on this. Now you believe that HTML provide the structure, just the backbone here. We haven't yet designed anything. This is just the backbone of what or whatever we are going to design, just like that. It provides the elements now, just like that, ladies and gentlemen. This is very, very much simple and straightforward, ladies and gentlemen. So now in the next tutorial, we are going to talk about how to style this form, the one that we've started, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, thank you so much. If there's any question, ladies and gentlemen, you need to ask. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay.